Ladies and gentlemen, here we are again, Hudson County View, live and uncut. I'm your host, the man whose voice soothes like Sean Combs and could throw hands like John Jones, John Arhitis, and we got another fantastic show for you, in my opinion. We got quite a few things to talk about, as always. It's never slow in Hudson County, especially not during peak election cycle. We're just a little under 6 weeks out, so we certainly have some interesting coverage out of South Hudson. One topic that will be on the ballot on November 5th is the Jersey City Airbnb referendum. So the council made some changes back in the summer, and the voters will now decide, after Airbnb submitted thousands of signatures to the city clerk's office and made sure that this is a ballot issue. They're again going to decide whether or not these changes will go through, or if Airbnb will remain the way that it has been since 2015, when the governing body first approved that issue. So a couple new developments there. And we are also going to speak at length about Hoboken pay-to-play. So you'll remember earlier this month we exclusively reported on an outside legal opinion by Ray Hamlin from a law firm in Patterson, outside counsel to the city of Hoboken, that recommended that the city repeal their pay-to-play laws, citing that they were unconstitutional, and a majority of which is currently unenforceable as well. So we're going to explain what tonight's special meeting is supposed to be about in the Mile Square City. That will be another topic. And speaking of the Mile Square, we certainly don't want to forget about our freeholder, Anthony Stick Romano. I was just on his show a little earlier this week, and he's returning the favor today by popping in. We hope we'll have him in by mid-show. And finally, we also want to give you a little update out of North Hudson. Want to talk about a measure that was passed that will allow the Board of Commissioners, the town of West New York, to go out to bid on 2 parking decks on 57th and Bergen Line and 67th and Park Avenue. So that's kind of speaks for itself, but we'll talk a little about that as well. And a quick correction from last week when we were speaking about a story published on Hudson County View about Peter Franco. I incorrectly stated that he was dishonorably discharged from the Army. That was actually a bad conduct discharge, as the original story stated, so I regret the error. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're just going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
It takes more than a state-of-the-art medical facility to make a great hospital. It takes a team of dedicated medical professionals. That's the Jersey City Medical Center, Hudson County's #1 hospital. Medical teams consisting of New Jersey's top doctors, Magnet Award-winning nurses, and accomplished hospital associates, all committed to your good health. That's what you have at the Jersey City Medical Center. Make Hudson County's #1 hospital your first choice. Visit us on the web at barnabashealth.org. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and launch inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in 10 high-rise rental towers with amenities such as the on-site Newport Path subway, light rail and ferry service, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams Supermarket is just outside your front door. A health and fitness club, spa, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. NewportNJ.com. Enjoy the New York skyline from Newport Town Square. Manhattan is just 1 path stop away or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Want to visit Newport? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. Go to NewportNJ.com for details. Newport has luxurious towers, great restaurants, shopping, New York skyline views, schools, playgrounds, a marina and yacht club, gym, spa, fine wine, fine living. It's incredible. It's you. NewportNJ.com. Newport, live like you want.
Hey, we're back. Hudson County View, live and uncut. I'm your host, John Arhitis, joined with Mark Bucinich. We did not coordinate these outfits. Just a quick disclaimer. Looking good, Mark.
Thank you, John. Took after you.
All right, so on to brass tacks as usual. So let's talk about this Airbnb referendum, Mark. This is something that you've had the pleasure of covering for a few months now, and it looks like things are really coming to a head. You know, I just got a mailer probably 2 hours before we went live here in the studio, and the Keep Our Homes campaign is really pushing ahead hard. So before I go any further, just tell us a little bit about the Keep Our Homes campaign and what their kickoff was like over the weekend.
Yes, it occurred on Saturday, John, and they had several Airbnb hosts there, and they're saying that they launched this campaign because they want to let their voters know, their friends and family as well, to vote no on municipal question 1. The question being put forth to the voters is whether or not there should be limits on Airbnb short-term rentals in the city of Jersey City. And as we've reported on this story before, the city is responded quite strongly to what the Airbnb host said, saying that this particular campaign is just filled with lies and misinformation. It's all about corporate greed, because this was particularly from the city spokeswoman, Kimberly Scalone,
Wallace Calcione.
Thank you. Sorry about the mispronunciation there. But that she said that, well, Airbnb agreed to these rules, the same type of rules that Jersey City is offering. Airbnb agreed to those same rules up in Boston, and while Airbnb hosts have been saying that this ordinance that voters will be voting on, if indeed they vote yes, it would completely eliminate short-term rentals within the city, but the city spokeswoman has said quite the contrary, that again, looking to Boston as an example, it didn't eliminate short-term rentals there, but what it did do is that it can't allow, say, an investor or a property owner to buy up, like, say, 10 units within a building and not be there on site, and then just rent it out as if it were a mini hotel. So indeed, there were some strong messages on Saturday, and again, as we heard from the city too.
So Mark, as you just said, quite astutely, if I do say so, I mean, it's a very interesting contrast between these two campaigns. Obviously, they're on two different sides, right? Vote yes and vote no. About as basic gets, right? But when we get down to the heart of the issue, Airbnb is saying that these regulations are going to ruin us and it's going to be a ban, and the city is saying that's not what we're doing at all. We're just basically pulling this industry in a little bit, for lack of a better term, and we're going to regulate, and we're just going to have more oversight. So, I mean, you know, most people say, and we've all heard the expression, that the truth often lies in the middle, but I mean, what do you think about these two competing campaigns that are really sparring hard now as we start to hit prime time?
Yeah, it's a good point, John. Well, according to the Airbnb hosts on Saturday, they said actually that the language of the ordinance, or the language of the ballot question that was verified at the city council meeting on September 11th, that is going to the voters on November 5th, Airbnb reps and hosts have said that the question, the way it was formulated, is misleading, incomplete, and biased. They've gone so far as to say that, because it leaves out two important, it leaves out the issue of potentially eliminating short-term rentals in the city, and as well as it relates to tenants. Because remember, tenants who may be, like, say, renting an apartment for themselves, then they can turn around and decide, well, you know, I need some extra money, so this week I'll be staying with a friend, or I'll be away for the weekend, so I'll be renting my own apartment to an Airbnb guest, so as a way to generate more income for myself. And according to Airbnb reps and hosts, that was eliminated from the question that'll be put forth to voters on November 5th.
Important context, Mark, so thanks for that. But fair to say that this is a moot point, right? The ballot question has been printed and there's really no going back. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is. At this point it is, John, yes.
Okay, so let me just talk a little bit about what happened on Thursday. So I was at a fundraiser briefly for Councilman Solomon. Of course, that's the downtown Ward E councilman, and he's one of the co-sponsors of this legislation with Mira Prince-Array, and of course they worked closely with the administration and Mayor Stephen Fulop, as you well know. But one of his messages that really resonated with his audience on hand last week was that corporations should write public policy. And Airbnb has responded in kind and said that, you know, the hotel trades are just as big of a corporation as they are. So, you know, it's basically saying that it's one juggernaut versus another. It's kind of not like it's not an unlevel playing field. So your take on that?
Yeah, that is interesting. I think that one of the hosts who spoke on Saturday, his name is Jeffrey Houter, I believe, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, expressed some disappointment with Councilman Solomon because he said that, well, he's saying that corporations shouldn't make policy, but that the councilman in his, when he was partaking or at least running for the Ward E council seat, and possibly is now when he runs again, that he had taken money from the hotel industry. And also, just quickly, this gentleman, Jeffrey Harter, said that while the city council, specifically Solomon, has said that, well, you know, we need to, I think we're running out of time, John, so maybe I can make my point when I get back from break.
Sure, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
The Jersey City Medical Center, you know it for its award-winning life-saving ambulance service. It's also your health hub, with health and wellness locations staffed with certified professionals all through Hudson County. The Jersey City Medical Center, here to help you with your healthy, here when you need us the most. The Jersey City Medical Center. Visit us on the net to learn more. Jersey City Medical Center, Robert Wood Johnson, Barnabas Health Facility. Let's be healthy together.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer a Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
All right, Hudson County View live at Uncut. John Arhidis and Mark Bucinich right here next to me was just telling us a final point on Airbnb. So Mark, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be back on air. What I was last saying before the commercial break was that this particular host, Jeffrey Houter, was saying that Councilman Solomon said that, well, we need to restrict the short-term rentals, particularly in the downtown, which is where this particular host has property. And he said on Saturday, this particular host, that the councilman's argument, and even the council maybe at large, has been saying, well, we need to restrict short-term rentals because it's contributing to a poor quality of life, you know, where there are parties happening and there's loud noise and neighbors are complaining and neighbors saying that they didn't move into these particular neighborhoods to be next to a quote-unquote hotel. And well, Jeffrey Houter said, well, the intended effect of the regulation, the new regulations that the city wants to implement, will indeed do just that, because if the Airbnb short-term rentals would be illegal in the downtown, well, the investors and property owners or potential property owners would just shift to other neighborhoods within the city, thereby contributing or exacerbating the poor quality of life issues that the city has been saying.
It's an interesting perspective. I mean, obviously it's a hypothetical one, but it seems relatively realistic. You know, obviously on the city's end, they're really optimistic that this thing is going to pass. You know, I mean, we've heard at length from Councilman Solomon. We've seen Mayor Fulop tweeting about this almost daily. He's also spoke about this at length. Mira Prince Airy just tweeted about this morning. I mean, they're exuding nothing but confidence. So, I mean, it sounds like they have a full throttle approach ready to go as well. Obviously, a lot of the commercials and the TV has been from the pro Airbnb folks, or the Vote No, Keep Our Homes group, I guess would be more accurate. But the council And the administration members that support this have also been tweeting this video that just went up that says to vote yes. So that's up, this is obviously going to continue to escalate again. This is really when things start to come to a high, to new heights, I guess, to also put it in another way, in the election cycle, again, less than 6 weeks out. So we'll end the conversation on Airbnb on that for now, and we're going to jump into Hoboken pay-to-play. So, Mark, as I mentioned at the top of the show, this is something that we've been talking about now for about 3 weeks at least, and this is a measure that was passed back in 2011, and Mayor Ravi Bala was on the council, and many. Genji Atito was also on there, of course, the current council president, and there were some familiar faces, but there were also several not so familiar faces, people that have since moved on from politics in the Mile Square. But the important point is this: the state pay-to-play laws allow vendors, specifically in this instance, political action committees, to contribute $2,600, but the local ordinance in Hoboken only allows $500, and that outside counsel opinion I mentioned said that this could be ruled unconstitutional in court. And there was also that 2017 issue with Councilman Mike DeFusco during the mayoral race, and Councilwoman Fisher, who was supporting Genji Atito for mayor, filed that complaint against Councilman DeFusco, but it didn't go anywhere. And depending on who you asked, it was because the ordinance is unenforceable, or it's because the councilwoman did follow up. So I don't think Corporation Council has ever officially put anything on the record about that. I mean, my memory could be escaping me right now, but from what I recall, that's where we're at. And so with all that said, we're obviously, again, just a few weeks out from a pivotal race in Hoboken. Those 6 ward council seats are up, which include Mike DeFusco, which include Tiffany Fisher, which includes Genji Atito. And now we have this special meeting tonight to vote on one single resolution. So, I said a mouthful, Mark, but what do you think about this political climate here in Hoboken and about this special meeting this evening?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how tonight's meeting plays out, because at the last council meeting that you attended, they had put off the vote on this pay-to-play resolution, and that's what it is. It's not an ordinance, it's a resolution. And in fact, according to your reporting earlier today, the council president, Genji Atino, said she doesn't see any reason to vote on this tonight, because there's already one on the books, even though, as you said, outside counsel said that this may be unconstitutional and should possibly be removed. But then the mayor has said, well, we should just keep what we have on the books right now until after November 5th election.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, the resolution, like most resolutions, is non-binding, which basically means it's a pledge of sorts, or it's a commitment, but there's no way to actually ramp up the enforcement, as far as I can tell. But this is something that is obviously going to continue to linger. I mean, this is an issue that I'm sure, in the event that it's not voted on tonight, I'm sure it's going to be on at least 2, 3, maybe even 4 other agendas before November 5th. So let's see how the council handles it, and let's see what the blowback's like tomorrow, depending on tonight's result. But I mean, one thing you could bet on, I'd say you could bet your bank account on, this won't be the last time we're talking about it.
Well, I'll look forward to your reporting after you attend tonight's meeting, John.
All right. Very good, Mark. We're going to take another commercial break, ladies and gents. Just give us a couple seconds here.
Abatement Properties, Jersey City. Shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office space and an address your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment. Adjacent to all modes of transportation. On-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. 201-521-9000 or visit on the web at panapintoproperties.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
And we're back, Hudson County View, live at Uncut. John Arhidis and Mark Bucinich. So, Mark, you had the pleasure of attending the Jersey City Council last night, and relatively short night for you, under 3 hours. So that's always a pleasure and a privilege in and of itself. But with that said,
and they started late as usual.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying, yeah. But nevertheless, we still wanted to talk a little bit about this rent control ordinance. So it seems like a fairly complex issue, but it looked, based on your writing, that you had a pretty decent understanding. So just tell us a little bit about why this was tabled and what it actually would do.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is it was a second ordinance reading, John. So, I mean, of course, I was thinking that it would be voted on or at least discussed. I mean, you would think that if it was a first reading ordinance, there's more of a chance that it would be tabled for another meeting, but it made it to the second reading. So I was surprised to hear Councilman Morty, Councilman James Solomon said that the council didn't really have a chance or an opportunity to discuss the ordinance for rent control in their prior to caucus meetings. So that's why he put forth a motion to at least table it for 2 weeks, so that over the next 2 weeks they can at least begin to gather more information and hear from residents and experts. And also because what the city council wants to pass or discuss and eventually vote on versus what the city wants is a little bit different. So for example, the city wants to be able to, right now the current city law is that there are exemptions for rent control on buildings after 30 years. So well, let me just clarify one thing, John. State law says any new construction, right? Any new construction has rent control exemptions for 30 years, meaning those units within that new building don't have any rent control. So then the current city law says, well, okay, after 30 years have passed, well, we will make sure that we exempt rent control from those units. But now what the city wants to put forward is that they want to eliminate completely the exemption after 30 years so that there are now rent control options for units that are older than 30 years.
All right. Well, that sounds like you had a lot on your plate to deal with.
I did, John. Yes.
But so just tell us a little bit why the council president, and if you could elaborate also a bit on Councilman Solomon, why they felt this just wasn't ready yet for a vote.
Yeah, and if I could just back step just for a minute, John. Also, what the Councilman Solomon said about what it's different between the city council's version and the city's version is that the councilman says he's in favor of what the city is proposing, but he thinks it needs to be more holistic. There needs to be a more holistic approach and a holistic policy to this ordinance. So, for example, he said that he heard, interestingly enough, he heard from the committee, the rent control committee that he's a part of and he co-chairs with Councilwoman at Large Joyce Waterman. They heard from his former wardee challenger, Rebecca Symes, who's the executive director of the Waterfront organization, if I have that name right. And she said that one of the suggestions that should be added to the new rent control ordinance is that there should be succession rights. So, for example, if someone who has is in a unit that's been rent controlled, well, if that person unfortunately passes away or moves on, well, then their next family member in line should be able to take over that unit. So that's what he means about it being more of a holistic approach from the city council's perspective versus the city.
So just if I could pick your brain on what happens 2 weeks from now, so I guess that would be the October 9th meeting. Obviously, yes. This was tabled last night. I mean, based on the intricacies of this specific ordinance and related measures, it doesn't sound like we're realistically getting a vote in 2 weeks as of this moment.
Yeah, it would seem, John, that's a good question, good point, because in 2 weeks it seems like they really need to try to resolve or bridge the differences between what the city council is proposing and what the administration is proposing. And given that Councilman Solomon said that there will be several meetings coming up just this, with several remaining in this month and in October, they still need to hear from the residents and from different experts. It would seem that 2 weeks is too short of a time.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what my read on the situation was. And real quick, there was also something that was tabled for a first reading. That was about a 30-year tax abatement. I know that was at the tail end of your story. So
yes, that's right.
Could you just give us a quick update in a minute or less?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, John. And that was an interesting twist because when it came time for the city council to vote, Council President Rolando Lavar said, well, okay, great. We need to have this discussion about what we are going to do with this rent control ordinance. But let's remember that what's going on with the 30-year tax abatements with the 4 residential towers that a developer is proposing to rehabilitate at Newport. Well, he's concerned that once this rent control ordinance should pass, if it does pass within the next 2 weeks, well, the luxury of the renters at the Newport residential towers, many of them, 80% of them would be luxury rentals. he's afraid that they could potentially be paying rent control for luxury style apartments.
Very good, Mark. And you had 10 seconds to spare, so actually extremely good. So we're going to take one more break for a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Introducing the MyJCMC app, powered by Practice Unite. The free MyJCMC app puts the power of healthcare at your fingertips. Go to the concierge for access to referrals, scheduling, and appointments, see emergency room wait times, and get directions to Jersey City Medical Center health locations. Read the latest JCMC news through their social media feed, find a doctor, and more. The MyJCMC app. We belong to you.
Rama Jewelers, located in the Lyndhurst Shopping Center at 413 Valley Brook Avenue, Lyndhurst. Come for all your jeweler needs at Rama Jewelers, where you will find a fine selection of necklaces, earrings, rings, and bracelets. Choose from one of our complete sets, our many signature items, or find the perfect engagement ring. Come on down. That's Rama Jewelers at 413 Valley Brook Ave, Lyndhurst. Call 201-939-5784 or visit us online today.
Hudson County View live at Uncut. John Arhitis joined with Mark Bucinich. Just a quick point of order for everybody watching and who will watch later. Freeholder Anthony Romano was supposed to join us today. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to make it. Obviously, we're down to the last couple minutes here, so we're going to rebook him for a later day so that we don't have to rush and we can have an in-depth discussion about all things Hoboken. So we'll have to save that for another day, but in the meantime, we are going to wrap up with just a couple quick hits, I guess I'll call it. So Mark, you reported on the dissolution of the West New York Parking Authority earlier this month. Yes. Last week, and while it wasn't a huge story, but it is notable for anybody who lives in the area. It's not a huge political story, I should say, but it is a big community interest story. Sure. They approved the process to move forward on acquiring bids to do 2 new parking lots, and that would be 57th and Bergen Line Ave as well, or sorry, that's 57th and Bergen Line Avenue as well as 67th and Park Avenue. And you know from the May election cycle how difficult it is to park in West New York, so I don't think too many people are going to be against this one. What do you say?
Yeah, no, I think it'll be a welcome change for a lot of the residents, and we heard from the mayor, Gabriel Rodriguez, and some of the other board of commissioners there that, well, this is one of the biggest platforms that they ran on was to improve the parking. So it looks like they're going to be making good on that promise. I mean, it was interesting, as you said, I did report on the dissolution of the old West New York Parking Authority, and one thing that I thought was interesting to ask, especially the mayor, was, well, is there going to be a board? Will there not be a board or a committee that's overseeing the new parking utility? Well, obviously it's being brought back to within City Hall, but will, for example, because they have said, the elected officials in West New York have said that, well, the employees of the parking authority's jobs won't be in jeopardy, but what does that say, or how does it apply to the former leaders, board members of the old West New York Parking Authority? Will they have a chance to, say, reapply for any leadership positions? And it seemed like the mayor said that, well, there's a possibility that there may be a board, but also said in the same breath that legally they may not require a board. So it still remains up in the air whether or not any persons from in leadership positions with the West New York Parking Authority will have any chance to be part of any new utility in the town.
Right. So, I mean, it sounds like the safe money is that the administrative leadership at what once was the parking authority is probably going to be gone, but, remains to be seen. So we've got to keep our eyes peeled on that. So, Mark, anything else you wanted to speak about just very quickly before we call it a day here?
No, John, I think we covered, you and I talked extensively and exhaustively today about all the most important issues in Hudson County this past week, and we glad that our audience has been able to participate, and hopefully they'll keep tuning in and viewing, reading our coverage.
Certainly, Mark. And I want to make a quick announcement that first time that we're putting it out there, October 22nd and October 24th at the DeBorn Auditorium from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We'll be doing Hoboken City Council debate. So we hope you'll join us. With that, we're going to call it a day. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great week. We will see you next Thursday.